So after my 9th session and I got my properties, kind of that initial approval from Jeremy that, yep, he didn't see anything wrong with them, I went ahead and got everything lined up with the investor. Got the ACH rolling that Friday. And of course, the expiration is that following Monday. So we had a very tight time frame because I think the ACH, the money was initiated that afternoon, Friday afternoon. And so here we are, like having this waiting game. The money's has essentially left the investor's account. And come Monday, now I'm on spring break with my family in another state, which doesn't really matter because I'm out of state anyway, and my investor is out of my state in another state, not in the property state. And so the great thing is that all this can be done remotely wherever, as long as you have internet and a way to communicate with everyone. But anyway, I'm on spring break, and we take our family to these resorts, and they always have like these touring options, and then you get some kind of freebie. And this time it was this show that we wanted to see at the Sight and Sound Theater. We went to Branson, and it was called Jesus, and it's a live production at this theater, and it's just incredible. And the tickets were going to cost us over $400 for our family. And so doing a tour of a couple hours, it was totally worth that trade. So anyway, I'm sitting in this tour. We got there at 9 a.m. Central Time, and things keep going and the time keeps passing, and then it just dawns on me, oh my goodness, it's Monday and I have not heard from the attorney that they have received funds from the investor. The investor hasn't, reached out to me, which they usually don't. Like, that's my job to keep them posted. And so I'm like, just start sweating, because now it's like 1 or 2 Central Time, and we're running out of time because this check has to be mailed to the county, postmarked by Monday that day. And I went through an attorney, which means they're not floating the money. Like, if they don't have your wire in, your check isn't going out to the county. And so this was a new type of deal for me, because I wasn't going through Anderson, which is this attorney's, preferred reseller, and they have everything down pat. I'm going with a different reseller that I've never worked with before. And he usually doesn't, well, I should say, the clients that purchase from him usually don't go through an attorney, because he will do the recording and assessing, the recording and assessing for the buyer. Well, I've never worked with this guy before. Jeremy, my coach, said that he's worked with him many times and he's a great guy. I talked with him on the phone a couple times on Friday, getting all the logistics and negotiating down price and stuff, which he was super fair with. Super fair. So I felt really good about it, but I left it up to my investor on whether he wanted to go with the attorney for closing, which would have been $400, or go with the reseller, which is free, but we don't really have any experience. I don't have any experience, and the investor doesn't, but the investor knows Jeremy, and Jeremy 100% vouches for this reseller. So anyway, I left it up to the investor, and the investor said, let's go with the attorney. Even though it costs more, let's just do that. Because at the time, I didn't know that the reseller also did the deed and the recording and assessing for us. I thought it was left up to us. And now I know. So anyway, back to the story. I'm here at this presentation. It's supposed to take 2 hours. We're there for stinking 7 hours, and we end up not buying, but we were super close. But it just kept dragging on. It's high pressure, even though they say it's not high pressure. It totally is. And I'm also trying to put out this fire and figure out where this money is. Trying to contact the attorney's office just through email, so you know they get back to me whenever they're between closings or potty break or whatever. And then I'm trying to figure out what they need. Well, they needed proof that the ACH was sent, and so I had to contact the investor. And the investor finally had, you know, his assistant get all that information, send it to me, but that took like an hour. And here I am just like, oh my goodness, is this thing gonna fall apart? Like in the 11th hour it's gonna fall apart because, well, the investor's like, well, the ACH says it's supposed to fund by close of business. And I'm like, yeah, but they're Pacific time. The attorney is Central time. And like, I have no time to even wire any funds or really get in and make up that difference somehow. I deposit funds as a buffer. Like, I'm not in Alabama. Like, my hands are tied, and I feel like I was just slow-mo, like watching this deal just disintegrate. Finally, at almost the end of the day, the attorney, the paralegal that I communicate with, she said that because I had given her proof of the ACH and that it was for sure coming, and I had already done 4 deals with her, or them, closing them, that I think that helps too. But she said that she would go ahead and send the check out that day, knowing that the ACH was going to post later that day or the next day. And the reseller who I was working with told me that he had lost several deals using this attorney for this very same reason, and that he has in the past, once he sees funds are in transit and there's a receipt and whatnot, that he will go ahead and float that in good faith. Well, he's also making the premium on it too, so he probably doesn't lose anyway, because if we back out, he gets a property that is probably pretty decent because we've taken the time to do the due diligence on it and decided to pull the trigger. So anyway, that is my story of the drama, and how it unfolds is, like I said, the attorney chose to float it, send that check out, and she did confirm with me the next morning that the ACH did get received. Whew. So now we wait. And then also on my break, I get notice, because I have a virtual mailbox, that I got mail. I open up, there's a check in it from the attorney's office for like whatever, $8,400 or $8,600 or whatever. I'm like, what is this? And then there's a letter attached saying that my deed was redeemed. Like one of the very first properties that I bought got redeemed, and it actually got redeemed prior to the sale, and the county went ahead and accepted the funds, and they shouldn't have. So they refunded my the purchase price of the price quote, but I had paid $2,700 in a premium to the deed reseller, and I'm like, what? Like, I can't sustain losing $2,700 like on a whim. Like, how many of these are gonna come back like this? And so I contacted Jeremy, and he contacted the reseller, because the reseller's a big one, and Jeremy has worked with him before. And ultimately the reseller called me a couple days later, and he's kind of the big wig there. He called me and pretty much said that he would make it right, less, a couple $100. So I don't know if that's going to be in a credit or a check to me, I don't know, but and this is a tuition of learning, right? He said it's very rare that this happens. The county stops the sale, but then it goes ahead with anyway, the closing. So I think it was just this time gap. So learning lessons that cost some money, and I guess that's okay when we're dealing with just you know, a few $1,000s, but still, it's like that's a quarter of a house, half of a house, third of a house, whatever, right? It's opportunity cost. When I have to, you know, lose money, that's less money that I have to invest with. But anyway, the fact that I had Jeremy to help advocate for me, and Jeremy has some clout because he's like, hey, if they're not going to be reasonable, you know, then I'm obviously not going to be referring my students to them. And I don't know what he said, but it prompted a call to me, and it fairly, right? And it's not the reseller's fault that the county made the error, and it was just, it may not have even truly been an error. It was just literally the processing times overlapped, and the check was in the mail and the redemption happened. And so anyway, it's just a system that's not necessarily perfect, and there's a wait time, and there's a lot of like manual checks being sent, which makes it very difficult because you don't see, I guess, that if it's been redeemed in that very last minute, and then you would go ahead and proceed with the closing in order to send the check. And so yeah, anyway, glad I had Jeremy on my side, and I guess that's what you pay for when you get into coaching, is that experience and that advocacy, and maybe a little bit of clout in the industry. So thankful for that. So I'll keep you posted, and yeah, I keep just searching for more each week. You know, a new dumpster comes every Thursday, and the list gets posted on Fridays, and it all starts again. I've kind of gotten skunked this week, and then 2 weeks ago, so it seems like every other week I'm finding something, and I'm hoping to like get to a point where it's more regular than every other week, but beggars can't be choosers, and I'm super glad that I at least have something that I can, you know, that's worthy enough to present to an investor to get that rolling. So now I'm working on my JV contract. I have my attorney reviewing the contract, and just as a placeholder until we can get a joint LLC together and the operating agreement and all that, which is more in depth, but just at least having a JV contract in place for now, just because, and I kind of did it backwards, right? Secured the property, got it funded by the investor, and had no agreement. So that's probably not what you should do, but when you're learning as you go, sometimes it's ready, fire, aim, right? And this is a good case for that. And I chose a money partner that I know has good integrity, and he really is taking a risk on me because he doesn't really know me. So I really have all the upside, and I know I'm a stand-up guy, and so he doesn't have to worry about that from, you know, my perspective. But he's putting a lot of trust in me, and I'm not gonna I'm gonna do right by him, because if not, like, then you burn your investor and you have no more opportunities, and that is just stupid. So I'm not gonna be stupid. Talk to you later. Bye.